as a young Christian, I was way too often quick to be offended by something, or to want to boycott something, or to want to tell somebody that something they were doing was wrong. And I meant well. However, I look back and I realize a lot of times I was being kind of a jerk for Jesus. And so, we tend to learn, and I mean, I really do. I look back and I'm like, oh wow, did I really say that to someone? but I don't know. I've been a Christian since 2003, and so I've really learned to mellow out and to not get so worked up about stuff, and to let people have their own opinions sometimes.
Now, how many drafts do you write on average before you think the manuscript is ready to go to the publisher?
I wrote 2 drafts of Rise of the Magi. No, I think I take that back. I wrote 3 drafts. One was way too short, and so I mean, but I had a series in mind, so I just went ahead and just kept on writing. And then the other one, it was my wife, by the way. I need to give my wife the credit because my literary agent said, has your wife read the novel? And I said, no. And he said, then you need to have her read it. And so I read the whole novel to her. And, she told me, she's like, the first half of the book just drags, and then the second half is like, whoa, what happened? Because she's like, you're on the edge of your seat the second half, and I was like, well, what's wrong with the first half? And she's like, you just don't know enough about the characters to care. And so that's when I went back and wrote my my 3rd draft. And what's funny is my literary agent suggested that I do this thing that I really don't like, and I was really worried. But he said what you should do is you should have it as one big, the whole movie, like have it start off in the future, and then the whole thing is a flashback. And I was like, oh, I really don't like it when that happens. And so, I made other suggestions to him, and thankfully he agreed, and we both agreed on that. And so, everything moved forward. But so before the publisher, I guess I went through 3 drafts.
I find it interesting that you had, that he recommended your wife read it. That was something I had my family read the book that I'm writing, and I found that my family was far more honest with me because they wanted to see me succeed. And they can point out things in ways that we will listen.
Right. The reason I hadn't had her read it is because I know she's not really as into high fantasy as I am. And so I was just like, she probably won't like it. But, I mean, she did like it. It was, and honestly, having her read it really did help me a lot. I always get honesty from my wife. I've always said she's my sledgehammer of truth.
Everybody needs one of those.
Yes.
Now, I've got to say, being an artist myself, I've been quite impressed with the concept art you've shown me and that I've seen on the website. In fact, I adore the Gearling image you sent me, which has a very strong steampunk essence.
Yeah.
One of the biggest questions I hear aspiring authors ask is, will they have a say or veto right when it comes to the visuals for their story? How much were you involved in that process?
I was very involved. What's funny is prior to finding a publisher, we had, I'd say, probably 100 pieces of art already done. Just because of the video game / role-playing game book aspect. Role-playing game books typically have art on every other page and are about 350 pages long. So, having 100 pieces done is actually not that for role-playing games, but not as much. But anyway, so we already had a good deal of art done, and the funny thing is my publisher, the CEO of the company, he started off as an art director.
Oh.
And so it really grabbed his eye, and he's like, wow, I mean, this guy's really got this thing meshed out. And the whole reason why I've always pushed the concept art is because I heard that the guy who did the Lord of the Rings movies, he had an entire book of the whole movie concepted and took it to investors, and they invested because they're like, well, you already got the whole thing planned out. So, but you know, it's really funny. Our roots. We started with about three artists. Rochelle Kokula, and I'm probably butchering her name, and I'm sorry, Rochelle, if I'm doing that. And Steve Mitchell and Jin Kim. And Jin Kim was an intern with my company, and he had done art for our original RPG book that we had started to create, and as an intern, and he was going to Art Institute of San Diego. Years later, I found him, and he was working for Sony Entertainment.
Wow.
Yeah, for video game projects, and I looked at his art, and I was like, blown away. And so I told him, I was like, what do I need to do to get you on my team?
Right.
So we worked something out, and he's been an amazing blessing. He's my art director now. He pretty much, you know, a lot of people think it's just the artist, but, you know, he's sent stuff back so much. I joke with him and tell him he's the Simon Cowell of art. But you know, just in teasing, he just wants to produce a good product, and that's very important. It's something that I read that Ralph Winter wrote, or not wrote. He said in an interview with the 700 Club. Ralph Winter is the producer for the X-Men movies, the Wolverine movie, and even co-produced Left Behind. Anyway, but he in an interview with the 700 Club, he said, you know, why can't we as Christians tell stories that captivate both non-Christians and Christians alike, like Christ did? And that's always been not even just with telling stories, but with art. I mean, if you name one AAA Christian video game. You can't. But and it's because kids who play games, they look at several things. First, graphics, storyline. I'm not saying these are in order. Storyline and gameplay. How easy is it to play as gameplay? Like, is it hard? Does my guy keep glitching out? You know. And then the storyline. Is it cheesy? Is it in depth? Is it captivating? And then the graphics. Are they blocky or is it cool looking? You know, that kind of thing. And so I think that we as Christians should have quality. Like, say I have a Christian business. We do Christian media, and quality is very important to us because we present Christ as we present our work.
Right.